All right, so I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians will want to find out what this means for both Ghana and the U.S. And so I've been joined in the studio by an international relations expert, Irbard Ibrahim. Hi, good evening. It's been a while. How are you?
I'm doing great, Lily. Good to see you.
Good to
Looking
see.
bubbly all the time.
Well, it's what we do. But first off, let's look at the diplomatic spats currently between Ghana and U.S. What do you make of this?
I think it's unnecessary. For about half a decade, I worked in diplomatic circles, and we understand diplomacy somewhat, even though we defer to older citizens that have been in this industry for so long. And I don't think the Americans are too far from right. We shouldn't fuss over this thing. There is no need to extend this into a diplomatic row between a much smaller ally to the United States of America than other countries that are co-equals with the U.S. And mind you, in international relations, Lily, monkeys play by sizes. So therefore, I believe that the Americans are right. We shouldn't be up in arms with them.
You think we are brewing a diplomatic tension?
Where there is none. And I think we could have handled this in a much, much better way. Of course, when you live in with an uncle, that provides you subsistence. When your uncle says A and he is not right, you don't go public and say, my uncle is wrong. Even though I don't agree with the way the ambassador and the Mrs. Ambassador handled this issue by going public. But that tells you maybe behind closed doors, the Americans are a bit frustrated. Lily, these are the issues. These are the issues, Lily. You are a diplomat in Washington, D.C. It doesn't make you an American. All in the name of getting domestic workers, people do visa racketeering. They take huge sums of money to sneak people into the United States of America. So therefore, when your wife is pregnant, you are a politician, you decided the future of this country, you're a policy maker, you yourself have no faith in our future.
And
you
so
want your unborn child
to be a citizen
to
of
bear an
another.
American, passport. So I don't fault the Americans. Here, when we worked, I used to work with ambassadors. They would come here. After they came, they would give employment to local employees. Your cleaner doesn't have to be a Ghanaian going to Washington, D.C. Already there are Ghanaians, Kenyans, Nigerians, Ugandans that you can give job opportunities. You can even employ Americans in the United States of America.
Because that's what they often do. You go to the various embassies and you see that even though they do not speak the language, they try to learn the language and they're employed. They are Ghanaians working in all these embassies.
I don't agree with the Americans on many policy issues, but they are right on this one.
So is Ghana compelled to accept anybody the U.S. says, listen, it's a Ghanaian citizen, so I'm deporting them? Is Ghana compelled to accept that person? When
I was in Los Angeles, I went for a prayer in the mosque, and a Nigerian, a very stout Nigerian, walked up to me. He said, Oga, I don't get a job. Even where to sleep is a problem. Then I was telling myself, maybe his family back home in Lagos or Abuja would be saying that her son is doing well in the U.S. Lily, when you invite somebody in your house and the person says, I'm going to do 1 week, any additional extra stay will be a burden on the facilities you have.
Yes, exactly.
And many people who apply for U.S. visas overstay, they are welcome. So therefore, I think out of dignity, national dignity, Ghanaians should not be too desperate to travel to someone's land. Travel where you are wanted.
You think we are not wanted in the U.S.?
No.
A lot of Ghanaians want to go to the U.S. every now and then.
Yeah, that is why we need to work on the psyche of the people. I went to the U.S. I had an option of overstaying. I wanted to come back home. There is nothing extraordinary traveling to someone's. You can't even cope with the winter. So we would encourage people. The more we fight the Americans on this, the more we deepen the brain drain we are suffering. Journalists like you have left. Your former colleague, a gentleman who was doing so well, he went to the UK. Other people are leaving the profession in other sectors of the economy. Come home, let's build Ghana together. There is nothing extraordinary traveling to someone's land.
U.S. is threatening to impose more sanctions if we do not cooperate. Don't you think we should also retaliate?
Lily, you are neighbors to the U.S. Embassy. When you go to the consulate, your documentation is good, you want to stay for vacation over the summer, when they give you a visa, you have no reason to overstay. So therefore, I don't think the Americans are wrong on this. We should be self-dignifying to say that we'll go where we are wanted. And there's no need trying to overstay your welcome when you are hosted by someone else.
So there's no need to retaliate in any form?
How do you retaliate? Would you declare the U.S. ambassador persona non grata? You can't do that. And so I would urge caution on the part of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. It doesn't help anybody when you pick fights with a world superpower like the United States of America.
But in this case, the U.S. says, listen, they are Ghanaians in my country, I'm deporting them. Ghana says, no, these people, some of them are Ghanaians, we've identified them as Ghanaians, the rest, some of them are not Ghanaians. Who is telling the truth?
Some are undocumented. You remember the 2014 World Cup? Many people went to the U.S. through Brazil. And there is a new route they have in the, in Latin America that they use. Some also use the Mediterranean to get into Europe. They get married to someone of a nationality that doesn't have visa arrangements or requirements with the United States, so they travel. There is this mad rush and craze about going to the U.S. I've been there on the ticket of the U.S. government as a guest of the U.S. government. There were places I saw in the U.S. that looked like circle. So we need to work on our mindset first. Rwanda is getting more and more independent economically. And so if I should marry you, Lily, and I told you for our honeymoon, I'm going to take
Kigali.
You to Nzulenzu, you will say no. You want to go to America or Dubai.
Exactly.
So these
But even in Africa, there are beautiful places.
Even Ghana is okay. Have you been to our waterfalls?
Yes, I've been to Boti.
Yes, exactly. So
Nzulezo is beautiful.
I was on Lake Tahoe. I was on Lake Tahoe in the U.S. and I didn't find anything extraordinary.
Anything fascinating.
So what I would tell young people like me is that it helps better when we stay and build this nation. If you want to go to someone's country, build your country to be like it or better than it, so they would want to come here.
I'm sure we'll talk about that particular issue, because if there's nothing to stay for, if they are out of school, they are graduates, and they do not even have jobs, and they are promised jobs elsewhere, where they feel that the grass is greener.
Lily, there are no jobs. The grass in the U.S. is not greener than the AstroTurf you have here. The grass you have at Accra Sports Stadium is greener than some of the grasses in the United States. Look, making $1 in the U.S. is so difficult. So there's no paradise anywhere. Let's be hardworking. The only thing I would advocate is that we should pay people hourly. The monthly salary structure is not too helpful. People would work full-time and they live paycheck to paycheck. And maybe some people have not been paid for January. So if we pay people early, then employers would not have that overarching influence over them. You can work for Metro TV for 3 hours, do something for the rest of the day. When you have multiple streams of income, you'll be okay. That is what everybody does when they go abroad. You are going to school, you do multiple jobs. And let's not look down upon jobs. If you
I think we should encourage that in this country.
If you will say no to cleaning a restaurant and you go to the U.S. and you're proud to do that, it's a mindset. And the U.S. has done so well through movies to create a very beautiful perception out there. But it's not any better than any other country.
Let's come back to this particular issue. Deputy Information Minister Pius Enamhajide says Ghana is prepared to pay the full price in defense of its sovereignty. What's your interpretation? Are we brewing an international diplomatic row? I
think the politicians should be quite careful. I'm not happy with the public show of bravado. And mind you, politicians, beg the U.S. to go there more than anybody else. I don't care if I don't make babies in the U.S. I had a very modest upbringing, and I think I'm okay. I didn't go to the U.S. because I wanted to. They wanted me there. So that is what we should encourage. The first visa, stamped in my passport was the American visa, and I didn't apply for it. So we should encourage people to read some more, add some quality to what you are taught in the universities we have, and I believe the world will come to you rather than imploring the world to go to it.
And the next couple of weeks, what do you think should be the way forward? Do we accept those that the U.S. say, listen, they are Ghanaians and we are deporting them? Should we accept it?
I condemn the blatant lack of respect for human rights on the part of the Americans. I don't agree with the Americans entirely. Reports that we've heard that people who were deported were in shackles, handcuffed on airplanes.
Are we in the slave trade era?
Yes, those are quite bad, and we need to stand up to the Americans and ask them why they would abuse the rights of Ghanaians like that. But for anybody who is undocumented, anybody who has overstayed is welcome. You are in the Bronx in New York City, you can come home. And I believe going forward, we should take this part out of the public eye and become more diplomatic. And I would urge politicians, I'm not a politician, but engage professionals. The Foreign Affairs Ministry has got career diplomats. You don't fight the Americans publicly. It doesn't help your long-term developmental needs as a third world country.
You go on the table.
Yes, it doesn't help you when you are blacklisted.
Thank you very much, Irbard.
You're most welcome, and thanks for having me.
It's been great having you. You're always full of knowledge whenever we interact. This is the Sunday edition of Newsnight. When I come back after this break, I have more stories for you. Do stay with me.